Alright, in this lesson we're going to be finishing up the shadows. My original audio that I recorded while I was doing this corrupted somehow, so I'm going to be doing a voiceover after the fact, but I'll try to keep it as tight as possible to what actually is happening on the screen. So here we go. We're pretty much picking up directly where we left off before. I'm still adding some details to the shadows and starting to tighten things up a little bit, putting in some more detail on the face and the beard. I'm still using that pure paintbrush we downloaded earlier. And I'm still doing just like I was before. I'm using the magic wand to select the skin and using the brush to fill in those details. Now here I'm going to lay down that same, purple color that I've been using the entire lesson, but I really didn't like the way that it looked on the teeth. It just kind of looked odd. So I went in and made a lasso selection around the mouth and then used the wand tool in intersect mode to select the shadow within his mouth. And I'm going to shift that just a little bit more toward the blue and away from that purple. At this point, I decided I really didn't like how gray his shirt was. I wanted to brighten it up a little bit since there's so many dark colors around it. And so I just went down to the base colors and brightened those up. This is a huge time saver, especially, I think I mentioned this in an earlier lesson, but you can always change the color of anything, really, at any point without having it impact your colors. And because I lightened the t-shirt, I also lightened the shadows there and turned them just a little bit more toward blue because a white t-shirt, I think in this scenario, wouldn't have those deep purple shadows. Going back to the face and realizing I really didn't do anything on the nose, so I'm adding some shadows underneath the nostrils a little bit here. Same thing on the mouth. If you struggle with faces, there's an app called Handy, the art reference tool. I think I reviewed it on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out, but it's great if you have issues with, deciding where to put light and shadows on faces. It's a very tough thing. Here I'm going in and cleaning up some of these shadows on the hand. They were a little rough from before, and so I'm just kind of getting it in line with some of the detail everywhere else. Now, I'm not putting as much detail as I did on the face everywhere. This is a pretty common technique that you can sort of control how much detail there is by having more detail in the areas people are going to look. Faces and hands and things like that. Whereas on like the bottom of his hoodie, I could be a little bit rougher because those areas don't have to be quite as detailed. This is a huge time saver when you're coloring. I'm pressing C while I'm brushing to go in and kind of remove some of those shadows instead of switching to the eraser tool. That way I've got the same brush in either case there. At this point, I decided that I needed to soften this shadow on his hat because, the hat's round and, as it's turning away from that light, that would be a bit of a smoother transition. So I believe I used the blend tool here to kind of smudge that a little bit and just blend it together. I originally tried the pure paint, but it was a little bit too rough, I guess, too much texture. And so I switched to the actual blend tool that's just called blend. It's basically a soft airbrush and did the blending with that. Even after doing this as long as I have, I still make decisions sometimes that I have to go back and undo or redo. That never stops. All right, so at this point, we're going to move on to the cat. Now, the cat's kind of a different lighting scenario here because the cat is actually a hologram. He is emanating his own light source here. Instead of having him lit from the top and kind of, from the front like I did with the guy, I'm actually going to put just some soft shadows kind of all the way around him. I do kind of lean the shadows a little bit more toward the left side, but these shadows are less about showing like where the light would be and more about just kind of bringing out the shape of the cat. So you'll see here, even in the areas on the top and on the other side, I'm putting a little bit of shadow on that side too, to try to create some sense of form there. I don't actually know what a holographic cat looks like, so I'm doing my best here. Again, here I press C to paint away some of this with the transparency. That's one feature of this app that it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around, but I tend to do a lot of erasing with mask anyway, and so being able to just stay on the same tool and the same brush no matter what the scenario was came in pretty handy. Now at this point in the drawing, everything is kind of one color, as you can see here. You know, the shadows for each part are just one color. So these shadows are very simplistic, but this is a point where you could say, hey, we're done. Like if this is a very simple cartoony drawing, it totally works. We could leave it and move on. And that's kind of what I tried to do with this, is leave every stage at a point where you could kind of walk away from it and say, this is good. But I'm making a new layer here, another shadow layer. I'm also setting it to multiply. I'm going to call it more shadows. And this time I'm going to not quite use as much color. It's a very gray, it might be completely gray, but it's just a really gray desaturated color, because these shadows are going to represent something that the computer rendering world calls ambient occlusion. You might hear this thrown around if you're familiar with game engines at all. Ambient occlusion is called that because the light is being occluded from all the little surfaces, the little nooks and crannies, like here where that hat meets the skin. And you'll see me switch to the skin in a second, and where the skin meets the hat, I'll add some shadow there. Because in all those little crevices, these are areas where the light really can't reach very well. Even the reflected light, it's not getting into the little corners of things. And so it just adds kind of an extra layer of lighting detail. It's really easy to do. You really don't have to think too much about your actual light source here. It doesn't factor in quite as much. Now, of course, I am, going to be conscious of the fact that, my light source is from the top, so I'm not going to put this on, anywhere where the light is. So the ambient occlusion shadows are still staying within those shadows that we created last time. I'm really not doing a whole lot of new shadows on this part. But what happens here physically as the light bounces and bounces and continues to bounce, it just gets weaker and weaker in all these little corners. And so that's also why I kept most of these edges pretty soft. You won't really see too many hard edges when it comes to these kind of shadows. And if you haven't noticed yet, I tend to kind of think of light and shadow almost like a computer would if you were in a 3D program, doing a pass of shadows and doing a pass of ambient occlusion. And in a second, we'll come in and do some lighting passes. And not everybody thinks this way. This is how my mind works. Maybe some of you guys work that way too. But like I said at the very beginning, a lot of ways to do this. Now that whole area of the arm there is facing down. That's why there's more of that shadow there, and that's why it helps to kind of, if If you can see these things in 3 dimensions, it helps quite a bit. But we're coming to the end of this video. Sorry for the technical mix-up here. Hopefully you didn't notice too much. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a problem. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one.